Welcome to my doghouse. Hope you're all having a great day today. This is going to be about Otter Creek, Florida. I've kind of gotten away from a lot of this, but this is important to me because of the fact, no, I have never been to Florida, so obviously I haven't been to Otter Creek. But I am from a small town, and when you're from a small town, I don't care what other small town is out there. You feel for them. Don't think for a minute you don't. I haven't lived in a small town since I was 19. Well, and that was a ranch, it really wasn't a town. But the town was small, and the next town was small. The first one unincorporated, which was Howe, and the incorporated one was Arco, Idaho. Now, I'm only saying this is because when you come from a small area, your heart is with other small areas. Don't think for a minute has anything to do with greed or hate, because it don't. This has to do with feelings I have and I see. Okay, it's all my opinion, nobody else's. I'm not accusing anybody of anything on here. It's just how I feel. And things come out saying like everybody in town. Yes, everybody in a small town usually knows somewhat of what's going on. But people from small towns love to keep to themselves and don't want other people bothering them. And Otter Creek seems to have not a lot of people, but some people that want to bother others at a constant pace. No, there's two there. I wouldn't want to live by them for nothing. Now, that don't mean they're bad people. Just because of actions, I wouldn't want to be by them. And I can see why other people don't want to be by them. I feel sorry for their child or her child because she has no way of getting out of that situation because she knows no better or she loves her adopted mom. And she probably loves her adopted mom because that's all she knows. Is it the greatest situation? Probably not. But what I'm getting at here is people from the outside that go into a small town, everybody thinks outsiders are not welcome. They are. You just can't push your values onto them and tell them they have to do what you want to do. It don't work that way. You will get feedback, fight back, and everything else. Now, I do think to a point Arctic Creek could be being used by a few. And what I mean by a few is they come in, and even some that's been there, and some around the area, they start to have problems with each other. In this case, you got two people that come into that town that their biggest problem is with each other, not the people that live there. Some of the people that live there do have their opinion and their right to it, but them two go at it tooth and nail. Or the two families go after it tooth and nail. And I ain't saying which is right, which is wrong, but that's what happens. But Otter Creek really, really needs to look at something very, very important here. You have the one with the child, okay? And there's another guy I watched last night on another channel who used to be a friend with somebody else there. Well, I've always asked people, and they can never tell me if that road goes through. Some people call it a turnpike or whatever you want to call it. Goes through there. You know whose land is going to be close by and whose land would go up in value? And that's Lynette's land. That will go up in value. Don't take my word for it. You guys need to go out that live there and just look at the two places they have set up for that to go through if it does ever go through. And Lynette's property would go up in value. And some of the other property around there and out of town would go up in value. So, you got to look at the whole thing. Now, there's one person saying that they overpaid for it. They know that turnpike, if it goes through there, it's very likely to go past that place. Now, did they really overpay for it? Or is somebody trying to get it for a lower price, knowing that there's a possibility? And, towns or business, it might not be great big businesses, will show up around the turnpike. So everybody should be aware of their own land. Will it affect it or not? Because if it affects your land and somebody's going after you just to go after you, take a good, hard look. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, and it all can be coincidental here. But think about it. You have an argument between two. One's suing, and obviously if they got that place, they are one of their friends. And there's nothing wrong with this, but be aware of what's going on. Be aware of your surroundings there. And this comes from a guy that grew up around a small town. And feelings never go away for a small town. If I had my way, if it wasn't from a wife and needs, I would probably pack up and go to some small town. But getting back to Otter Creek, and sometimes I'll say creek because I grew up on a ranch called Badger Creek, and we had Spring Creek, which was a spring creek. Well, we always called it creek. Everybody coming around there called it creek. So don't worry about it if I say creek. That's just how I grew up. We knew it was creek, but we still said creek. But people need to think about this around there. Don't put it off. Even if one person on here is from there that sees this, get others to look. Get both plans and where both turnpikes would go. There's only going to be one turnpike, but there's two. I guess, according to this guy, there's two plans. They hadn't decided on which one, but I guarantee you the one he showed went right by Lynette's place. And like I said, I would not want to live by that lady. I would not want to live anywhere close to the people that's been on that place. I just wouldn't. I'm not calling them out because I know mental issues I ain't saying there are, mental issues may play a part in it. And they need to figure that out themselves. Other people in that area can't figure it out for them. That don't give them a right to do wrong, but it does mean they need help. But this guy on there, he showed it. He showed where the one, well, he showed both turnpikes, but that one definitely would go by Lynette's land up. And I don't know whether it goes through Elsie or anything else. He didn't go out of town with it. But that means people on that turnpike, wherever there's been one built, things pop up. And if you're a businessman and you see these people in a town that don't seem to care or are willing to put up the effort to look, yeah, you're going to buy up everything you can get because you're going to make a heck of a lot of money off of people not doing their due diligence. That don't mean they're ignorant. That just means they don't want to. and somebody will be there to take that advantage. If you know people around there, get them to look. If somebody is always getting in trouble by somebody else, being threatened, sued, or anything else, look if that ain't in the line of where one of them turnpikes might go. That's a smart business move, though, as far as trying to get land for cheaper, knowing what it could wind up being. Is it a gamble? Yeah, because maybe it'll go the other way. But they did not overpay for the land if that turnpike goes through. Some people may want you to think that, so if they lose a lawsuit, they can pick it up for cheap. And I'm not talking about one person. There's probably a dozen people around, and a lot of them not from that town. They could be, some of them, but they're going to sit there licking their chops because they want that. In other areas, it's just not one spot. The turnpike goes through, it means there's a beginning and an end. And people within that path of that turnpike could be making some good money. Maybe you have to sit on it several more years, but it's there. Don't trust other people when they try to get you to sell it for nothing. Don't trust other people when they try to tell you something is not worth something, in this case. Do your due diligence, look at it, get other people involved, and put it out there so other people know. Some of these people are not that young, and they need help. Help them. Show them what's going on. Don't let somebody or a group of people, and a lot of times it is a group of people, come in there, take your land for nothing for their own personal gain. I understand them doing that if you let them do that. Yeah, there's dishonesty in a lot of that, but that's the way it is. That's what they will do. And that guy, I always wondered, one thing I was curious, if land, and I had asked people if that turnpike was going to be close to any of that land, and I could never get an answer until that guy showed it last night. But if you know what's going on there, you're better off. And like I said, there's probably people out there using other people in that town for their own personal good. I'm not saying there is, but there's always that chance. And never forget that. And I always wondered, well, like I was saying a minute ago, about that guy that has just a small strips of ground on each side of the river. Well, I know why now. They're going to widen it. If they went across the river where he has that land, he's going to make quite a bit of money. And like I said, people not in Otter Creek, in that area, also need to pay attention and look at the map where they plan on putting these two options. Because I can see people going in trying to sue people, or trying to go in when there's not any money involved and you flash money at them and they'll give it to them. All the more power to the person that did it. Not necessarily should do it, but if you're not going to pay attention to what's going on, it's easy picking. And there's probably people out there that do believe it's easy picking right now. And yeah, I'll probably gamble because you don't know if it ever go through or not. But you're taking a gamble on your future kids. If you sell it and get out now, you can sell it, but Sell it for a reasonable price. If you don't want to sell it and stay in that small town, stay there. Us people from small areas got some of the greatest love in the world for other people. And that town seems to have great love for other people. Yes, everybody thinks everybody knows everything in a small town. To a point, yes. But overall, no. You want to keep to yourself. You want to have friends. They need help. You're going to go help them. But you're not going to get in their business to make money. You're not going to get in their business to make yourself look good. Them are bad people overall that do that. Otter Creek seems to be a great place. I got a sister that lives in Hastings. Somebody told me it's about 2 miles or 2 hours away from there. I don't know. I haven't seen my sister forever. But when you're in a small town, that heart you have is bigger than gold. That heart you have may not get you these great opportunities in bigger places do, but your heart when you move from there is always in a small town. So I know people get offended, not only at me, other. You're not from here, but when you're from a small town, and people get this really straight, when you're from a small town, that feeling in your heart don't leave. It's there forever. And you do not want to see people get hurt. You do not want to see people taken advantage of. You can hate people, you can dislike people, but it still gives you no right to take advantage for your own personal gain. Yes, Otter Creek is in thousands of places across this United States. And if you're not from a small town, you just don't understand how your heart will never leave and you will stick up for a small town across this country. You don't have to be there. You don't have to have been there. You don't have to live there. But your heart is there because you know what small town living is like. You know the pluses and minuses brings. But one thing all small towns and people from it, or not all, the majority, will stand up for what is right. And if you're not there for the right reasons, they will know. You know, just because you can be an outsider, don't, like I said earlier, don't mean nothing. When you try to force your rules and force your regulations on a group of people that has spent their whole life wanting not to be bothered by others come in. And that's a bully tactic. Remember, small towns, people from small towns will always stick up for each other. Thank God I'm from a small town. Thank God I went to school in a small town. Thank God I was raised on a ranch and had more fun than most people in town could ever have. I thank God for the presence of mind not to ever give up on what I think about small towns. Thank you, Lord.